and we are live at the Broadway Shuffle, a Texas Tech sports podcast, and we are officially less than a week away from football season. So, gentlemen, I don't know about y'all, but it is here, and I am, for one, just anxious to see us play. How are you guys feeling about next Saturday night? Like, are you guys sleeping all week? Like, what is your week routine now that football is officially back?
Yeah, I'm going to start getting locked in now.
Yeah.
Probably getting my game week schedule.
Yeah, what is it?
I'm not sleeping
Yeah,
all
what
week.
does that look like, Clayton? What is that locked in on a, Monday? Are you just 5 days just focused?
Yeah. Focus, a lot of stretching, a lot of beers.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I'm gonna go to sleep every night and visualize a quarter of each of the game. Quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Just see what's gonna happen. I think 66-7 is what I'm thinking right now.
The more important thing is about hating your opponent as opposed to, visualizing what you can do. It's how much can I hate Abilene Christian this week, and so that's what I'm going to be focused on.
Wow, that's going to be a house divided there, Z.
Yeah, I know. I'll see who the wife ends up rooting for, but we'll just have to wait and see. We're raising Blakely to be a Red Raider. She's got the guns up down already, and she says Texas Tech. So hopefully my wife will root for who our daughter's going to be rooting for. So we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, how quickly the summer goes by. You get to June, you're like, sports are done. There's not a whole lot of excitement. And then here we are, like end of August, and we're playing a game at the Jones in less than a week, which it's just crazy, man. I've seen the stadium on some of the brand episodes and on NCAA 25. I just can't wait to see it on TV.
Yeah,
it's going to be exhilarating. I know and hopefully it's just going to be, like Conrad said, a 50-point win. So
Is it sold out? Do we know that?
it's not. I checked eVenue the other day. I bet there's like 600 to 800 tickets left.
Tough.
Wow.
So
that's still pretty good, though.
That's not that many. That's
it's going to be a rough season.
Yep. Can't sell out ACU. Pack it up.
So Brennan and Clayton, we got to get our tickets. We got to get our tickets if we want to get out there then.
Hey, I'll actually be in Lubbock this week. So maybe I'll just stay till Saturday. I don't know. We'll see.
You should go by the stadium and record a promo video for the Broadway Shuffle.
I will probably be recording our Thursday episode from Lubbock. So maybe I can do it at maybe I can do it where Clayton sat, the same booth that Clayton sat at Chimmy's drinking a DP shootout just on my phone.
Yeah. You should do it at Rudy's barbecue in the booth where they have the coaches shows.
I show up to Joey McGuire's coaching show, like, Broadway Shuffle pass right here, please. Scoot over.
You're like, Joey, be quiet. I'm recording an episode.
Yeah, come on, man. Well, anyways, boys, we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. We're excited. We're going to hit our news and notes from around the country first. And we've got a couple big Red Raider stories, actually, within the news and notes. And so if you're a Red Raider fan, which you wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't, we had our golden Red Raider touchdown in Lubbock this past week, and he made quite the donation to the South End Zone and also is doing some pretty cool stuff with the NIL. So, Clayton, what were your thoughts about what Mahomes did for Tech, and how do you feel like it impacts Tech athletics, just having him being so committed to the future of our program?
Yeah, I think that's really cool that he's doing that, especially like something that I haven't seen. I mean, I could be wrong, but someone else could have one, but I haven't seen a current professional athlete have like kids on their NIL team or whatever it is at their formal school. So I think that's cool. And then like specifically like how it can help Tech, like in Micah Hudson's case, I think it'd be much more likely that he would like transfer out now. Not that like I thought he would to begin with, but
that he would, or
you're much more likely that he won't transfer. Not saying that I thought he would in the first place, but like obviously with the transfer portal, you can leave whenever you want. So there's always a possibility. But if he's on this like Team Mahomes thing, I think that would be tough to walk away from and transfer to another school.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking at a note that for Clayton. Conrad, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just I don't know of a current, and I think Kirby said it in his press conference with Pat. I don't know of another athlete that's doing what Pat's doing for Texas Tech, just wearing the Texas Tech brand, far and wide like he does. It's even the deal that the Chiefs have with Tech to do a kind of before every game a picture of Pat speaking to the team, yelling at the team, whatever he's saying, and it's got the Texas Tech logo on it. I mean, it's just so cool to see a guy of his magnitude putting the Texas Tech logo on everything because he's so proud of what it means. And even in the press conference, I can't remember if it was a press conference or if it was when he was speaking to the team, but he even said, like, I just love this place so much because I grew up here. I came here as an 18-year-old freshman, and I became what I am today because of my time here at Texas Tech. And so, just thought it was really cool. And obviously, $5 million to him is not a ton, but it's still a lot of money regardless of how you look at it. So it's great that he did that, and it just means a lot to Texas Tech and just to Red Raiders everywhere that he is so proud of his university.
Yeah, and Z, while you answer, I just realized that I left the stove on, and I'm about to get in really big trouble. So
Yeah.
I'll be right back. But there's apparently water that's boiling, and I need to hurry. So you
Okay, save the house, Brennan.
yeah. So you guys continue. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
You go save the day.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I know they've hinged at it and they've talked about it, but I think he's also getting that room named after him, the QB and the OC room or whatever that's going to be called. I'll be interested to see what that looks like. I'm sure they didn't change anything about the room except maybe the title of it, but I thought that was really neat for him to do. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse and talk about the things that you guys already touched on, but especially given that he wasn't from a wins and loss perspective super successful here, didn't have what you would call like a sterling college record. The fact that he still loves the university, I think, is really neat. And I'm really thankful for that. It'd be a huge bummer to have an athlete with that high of a stature and profile not care about his university. And there's plenty of guys that don't, and that's completely understandable. I think it's really cool that he does. And I'm super thankful for all that he does for the university. He's a great ambassador. And yeah, we're lucky to have him.
I love that answer, Z.
Did you save the house?
This room, everything outside of this room is still okay too. Well, yeah. So we really like Mahomes, and I'm sure Z's answer was great. Yeah, it's cool, man. It's fun to see like how much like we get involved too, having the cheerleaders outside of the plane, and see just it's like an event every time he comes. We help him feel loved. We reciprocate that. It's really fun to watch. So. So Mahomes was great. We had another Red Raider, Conrad. I know that you were watching today and just disappointed in a guy named Ludwig. We're here. We support our golfers here at Texas Tech too. So how you feeling today, man? I know that you told me
it was. What are you going to share? What I say?
Yeah, just so we're clear before this, I get a text from Conrad. And he says, he texts me this morning, and are you ready to celebrate a Red Raider victory? And he said, Ludwig is a dog. He's going to take it. And then 10 minutes later, he says, if he doesn't, then he should retire. It's time to deliver or quit. And he said, are you tired of your team / players not delivering? So Conrad, with that, you can continue your rant.
No, I'm not mad. I just, it's so frustrating when you get so close so often and you just he doesn't close it out. Now it's really hard to win on the PGA Tour, the Superior Golf Tour, to get into a little golf talk. But it's frustrating not to see him win because he is so good and he's been so close. I mean, he was in the final group at the US Open on Saturday. Had the lead by 1, I believe, and obviously didn't win that. And then today, I was like, he shot 62 on Friday, and so the fact that he didn't win today, I was just like, man, is he going to close it? And now, bear in mind that this is his first season on tour. He's had the greatest rookie season of all time on the PGA Tour, so it's just hard when you've seen him do it. The kind of talent he has, and to know, hey, he hasn't gotten it done yet. It's just frustrating to see because you want success for him and he's going to have it. So I'm not mad at him or anything, but He'll be okay. I think he'll win multiple majors, but it was frustrating today watching him not win because he didn't even play bad. He just didn't play well enough to win. But it is hard to play out there. I couldn't do it. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I just was looking forward to a win. It didn't happen, but that's okay. He'll win next week.
Yeah, he'll have a chance. Clayton, do you think it's a big deal? Ludwig Tech. You think this is a big thing for the university, or do you think that many people don't care? And I think for you it'd be good because you're not really much of a golf fan unless you're hanging out with me, and I'm making you watch golf. But like, do you tune in to what Ludwig's doing?
Yeah, I
You
do.
do.
I mean, I didn't watch this tournament, but I was I'll keep up with the score, like if he's playing, if he's close to the leaderboard, which I'm sure there's other people like me who aren't necessarily golf fans, but like will check in or tune in on him.
Z, what about you? You watch Ludwig?
I watched absolutely 0 minutes of it. I usually keep up with golf, but no, this was breaking news to me, this whole story. So thanks for getting me up to speed on what happened this weekend.
Yeah, I think it's just cool. Like you see, he's also sponsored by Adidas. I don't think he had any say in the matter, but I'm sure that him choosing his sponsor helped, with Tech and Mahomes and everything too. But yeah, tough to see him not win more with how much he puts himself there.
Well, and it's worth noting too. I don't think people, because golf is not as widely followed as football or basketball or just on a professional level. But Ludwig Oberg was one of the only, I believe it was one of the two players ever to win the Hogan Award, Ben Hogan Award twice, which is basically the Heisman Trophy of college golf. He won it in 2022 and 2023. The only other player to do that. Does anyone know who that would be? I know this is not Tech Trivia with Zyler, but does anyone know who the other player to win the Hogan Award would be? Twice.
John Rahm.
Well, Zyler does more golf than I thought he did.
Where did John Rahm play? I don't remember. I just remember them being linked for some sort of
Arizona State.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for John.
But I'm just
good for Johnny boy.
I didn't know that. I know Zyler heard that on some podcast and just has a brilliant mind.
No.
But that was. I don't think people realize how good Ludwig actually is. I mean, I didn't realize it when he was at Tech, and then he got on tour, and I started watching him, and I was like, okay, this guy's one of the top 5 players in the world. So, he'll have a long, successful career repping the Red Raider brand as well. He's got it on his bag.
Yeah. And Conrad knows golf, man. He possesses a single-digit handicap, so this guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to the game of golf.
No. And do you want to share your experience with golf?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. So with segueing into that too, there was a game this weekend that I don't want to talk too long on. I just kind of want to roast this. Zyler, I'm sure you had your, what did you win 12? What was your line that you bet on?
Yeah. I was misled by some of the advanced analytics. I thought Florida State was going to pound Georgia Tech, and they 100% did not. In fact, they took the pounding. So I'm 0-2 on bets for the year. I'm not going to talk about the second one. Actually a really bad story. I got so mad that I lost both of those bets that I got on online blackjack and lost every single dollar in my gambling account. So I now have $0 left. So my season is over, which is unfortunate.
Before you lost it all in week 0, man.
Yeah, I didn't even get to week 1. Didn't even make it to September. But yeah, I actually thought the game was really interesting. It was. I saw somebody tweet out that it was only 14 possessions, which is the lowest possession total in the game since like 1997. I mean, it felt that way on TV. I don't know if any of you watched that, but it was like, how has there not been more points? But each drive and then the clock changes obviously changed a lot of that. But DJU is still who DJU was at Oregon State and who he was at Clemson outside of that Notre Dame game. Not a very good quarterback. So they've got some stuff to figure out. I actually, one of my favorite things to do in college football is to be a hater. It's a lot more fun to be a hater than it is to be a supporter. And SMU almost losing to Nevada, I thought was a much bigger storyline for me personally. That would have been a way bigger upset. They were 27.5-point favorites. And I was also wagering on SMU, and they won by 5. And they had to win in the fourth quarter. That was super interesting to me. And they looked much, much worse than people were expecting them to. So On week 0, ready for week 1 though.
Yeah, just not.
Actually, I'm ready for next year.
Next year's week. So you're not making this money in week 1, man.
No.
Gosh, dude, it's so funny. It was like you don't want to. For some reason, DJU just isn't likable. Like I don't know what it is. Like he's so easy to hate on. Maybe it's because he came in so touted, and then it just couldn't build anything. I don't know what it is, but it's just kind of fun to see him lose for some reason.
Yeah. Yep.
And he seems like a good guy. I don't know.
He does seem like a nice guy.
I feel bad for him almost. I'm just glad he's not our quarterback. But I would have taken him the last 2 years, actually, probably. But
did y'all see his? I think it was on his first 14 passes. His average air yards per attempt was minus, negative.
It was negative 0.1.
Yeah. So he was throwing behind the line of scrimmage every single time, basically. Which is just
that is insane.
Again, who he was at Clemson and who he was at Oregon State. Maybe not as bad as Oregon State, but definitely who he was at Clemson, which I thought was funny. I also just want to say this. Looking back to last year, I was so happy Florida State was left out of the playoff because of the quarterback situation. That would not have been fun to watch. We saw what they were against Georgia. I just need to ask y'all if y'all know this question. Did Florida State have any players opt out of this game too? Because they just did not look like the team that they thought they were last year. So I don't know.
I just want it on record that I strongly disagree with your take about them being left out of the playoff. I just want that on record.
Well, that's okay. The game against Georgia vindicated me, I think.
I just
Clayton,
agree.
what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I think like if you pick the 2 teams that would be like the funniest 2 teams to lose their first game of the year, it might have been Florida State and SMU. And we almost got both of them. Yeah. The way that SMU has been talking this offseason about they're going to win the ACC, and then Florida State after we deserve to be in the playoffs. And then I saw so many tweets about how they were pissed off.
Yeah. The video of that true freshman standing in front of the Georgia Tech bus as they were getting off, arms crossed, just watching it. They're like, "Oh, Florida State is ready." It's so funny.
Oh, dude, that's
good content.
Did that count as an ACC game or no? It did
count.
Okay, because I know some of them Kansas State and Iowa State are playing in a couple years there, and it's not a conference game. It's a non-conference game.
Wow.
So I know they're doing they're scheduling conference opponents, some people, but not counting it as a conference game, which is so dumb. But for some reason, they're
also
doing it.
Just one last note on that game. I also just think it's hilarious to watch a former Texas A&M quarterback go elsewhere and have success. That seems to be a theme. And Haynes King looked really, really good. Or not really, really good, but he looked better than he ever did at A&M. Yesterday in that game, just because they utilized him correctly because he was a 5-star recruit coming out of Longview in high school, I believe. So, just thought that was another interesting note for our many listeners.
You don't root for A&M like you do Texas or OU, do you, Conrad?
Do you really want to? You really want to bring that up?
No, I do not.
Okay, just checking.
I haven't rooted for Texas in a decade plus. So,
yeah. Okay.
And then OU, I rooted for them because they had a Red Raider head coach. So that's a little bit different.
All right. We can get into that later. Okay. So we're moving on into the Texas Tech depth chart, which was released today. And this is a pretty big deal because there's some things on here that surprised me, quite honestly. I mean, coming out of camp, I wasn't really expecting some of these names to be on top. In particular, and I guess I'll start this. The tight end position is interesting to me. Just on the fact that I know Tharp was here, but Jalen Conyers has been talked about a lot. I feel like this offseason, and to see him not be starting was a little surprising. And I think we can get into all of the offensive line because that just seems like a merry-go-round of people moving forward. Nothing else on here too surprising. But what were y'all's thoughts on that tight end position, and then more so just overall on what this depth chart looks like offensively going into the season?
Yeah, I don't think there's a ton that's surprising. I think Kelby Valsam being the backup Z is actually kind of shocking. I wasn't quite sure where he was on the depth chart, but that's a redshirt freshman that I hadn't really heard much talk about out of the coaches. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. The one that shocked me the most was Holton Hendricks making it on the 2 deep. That's a true freshman, I believe. So good for him. That wasn't something that I was expecting. He hadn't really gotten talked about him a ton either, and to make it, I know he's technically the third guy there, but that was shocking to me.
Yeah. I was also gonna say, this could have been trending this way for a while, but I'm surprised that Maurice Rodriguez didn't even make the 2 deep. I thought he was gonna be pretty good coming to Tech.
Yeah, not even. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder. Sorry, Conrad, I'll let you go here in a sec. I wonder, they have Micah as the backup. Why? I imagine if we play 10 personnel, then Micah's the fourth guy we put out there. I'd be shocked if that's Dre. I think he'll play probably the same amount of Micah, but I think if we do 4 wide, Micah will be that fourth guy with Josh, Caleb, and Coy. That would be my prediction, but I guess we'll just kind of have to wait and see.
That's what I was. That's actually exactly what I was going to say. Just because I'm not sure that you're really going to put maybe a couple of plays a game, right? I mean, the Micah's not going to play every play, but I'd just be kind of surprised if you did have Dre out there over Micah just because of who Micah is. I also thought it was interesting just going back to tight end. I'm not sure that I buy that for the entire season. Obviously, it can change. But just because of who Jalen is and how highly touted he is, I mean, obviously Mason will probably walk out there first on Saturday because he's been here, he's reliable, he's trustworthy. But I think Jalen will play quite a bit, and I'm sure because of the talent that we have at tight end, we'll probably utilize not a ton, but a good amount of 2 tight end sets so we can play both Mason and Jalen out there. So nothing really surprising. I do think it's funny how Caleb Rogers is on there at right guard, right tackle. You could probably put him at left guard or left tackle too, just because we're not really sure what's going to happen. But those are my thoughts just about Micah and then Mason and Jalen.
Yeah, I mean, heck, they even thought that Caleb could have played some center, like going into the offseason. You could throw him everywhere, Yeah, I guess the reason that tight end I think it was just how much Jalen Conyers was talked about going into this fall camp and the pickup. And he is very athletic, and he was playing some quarterback at Arizona State. He was doing a lot of different things. I guess I just feel like this was a little. Just not seeing his name on top, like, is that more of a Jalen Conyers thing, or is that more of a Mason Tharp, or does it matter because Jalen will be in the correct sets and Tharp might be in more run blocking, and does it really matter? I don't know, but just seeing that originally caught my eye. And then as well, the running back position too. Here, I know we've talked some about Cameron Dickey, but Cameron Valdez's number being 00 was a little surprising, and seeing Cameron Dickey, like seeing him above Cameron Dickey was that I feel like that backup running back was a little more discussed. This wasn't a for sure thing. So seeing that Valdez kind of won that spot behind Taj was interesting as well.
Yep.
But one more thing.
I'm going to switch it to deep.
Sorry, one more
anything
thing.
else on offense?
I will say this is exciting to see 2 true freshmen looking, making the depth chart. This is exciting for us to see some of these young guys have an opportunity to shine this year. So, and then Coy Aiken too is another young guy who got the starting nod as well. So,
yeah, it's also nice to see the. Go ahead, Conrad. I'll go.
Just 2 quick things. Really happy to not see Tyler Shuck on the depth chart. Really happy not to see Jake Strong on the depth chart. I think that's a really good, positive direction for our program.
You know that I'm gonna hold my tongue on Tyler Shuck just for the sake of this program. But I very much agree that I am happy to not see the number 12 starting for Texas Tech this year.
Clayton, what were you going to say before I rudely cut you off?
No, you're good. I was going to say it's nice to see the receiver depth. I feel like it looks a lot better this year because, I mean, Boyd, Aiken, Brown, McCray, those have all played for Tech, and then obviously Josh Kelly's proven. Caleb Douglas started for Florida, Hudson 5-star. So I feel like we have a lot of options at receiver.
Yeah. Let's switch to that defense real quick, Conrad. There's Conrad's boy Quincy Ledet getting the start nod. We love Conrad's favorite player on the roster.
I don't know if it's my favorite player on the roster. I just think Quincy's gonna have a good year. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, Z. So what's some big surprises from this that you're seeing here?
Yeah, I think some of the tea leaves were trending toward this stuff, but if you would have told me at the beginning of camp that one, Isaac Smith wasn't going to be starting at edge, and then Amir Washington was going to be starting over a data ray, so that's redshirt freshman and I think redshirt sophomore over kind of some proven guys. A data ray was playing as a true freshman and then played a lot last year. That's really, really interesting to me. I think those guys are going to play a lot. Like maybe it's 55 and 45, or maybe it's even 50-50. That was really interesting to me. Some of that talk about Jaden Cofield pushing for starting reps seems to have faded off a little bit. The only other thing that I thought was fascinating is Joe Plunk as the backup strong safety. We do not have much depth. We've talked about that and at the safety spot. You need Baskerville and Chapman to be healthy. That is not a spot. If you had to pick a spot on the defense, you don't want to lose somebody. It's definitely back there at safety. Nice to see John Curry working in there at Mike. That was a local kid that I thought we should have never taken, and he proved me wrong. So good for John, Coronado product. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff here. Just the defensive line is way better than it's probably been, outside of Tyree Wilson being the ultra talent that he was. From a depth perspective, this is the best it's been in probably 8 to 10 years. Just on your nose tackle, defensive tackle, and then your outsider edge rushers.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
It's as deep. I don't know if it's as good, but it's definitely deeper than any year that you've had.
I like it. Yeah, I'll say this too. AJ McCarty starting, I feel like, hopefully after what happened last year is weird, like him not being able to play and then being able to play in the bowl game. And I think he had some veteran depth. Obviously had a pick six in the Jones before, just for a team that shall not be named. And then, the Amir Washington hype is so interesting because it's like he had his coming out party against Cal. It's actually, I'm actually happy to see that he did get a nod because maybe it shows that is who he is as a legitimate player compared to like a one-hit wonder in a bowl game. So obviously the coaches saw enough throughout the offseason through camp to get him the starting position as well too. So he's probably the guy I'm most excited to watch on this defense based off what he showed glimpses of, but there wasn't enough there. So I really want to see if he's able to prove out what he did in one game. So,
yeah. Other random note, it's very strange to see a defensive tackle be number 5 and be number 8. That is just like very jarring for me.
Yeah, now this is part of the double number thing too, right? Because like, didn't they change some of this with NIL? Like you're allowed to have multiple. I know offense, defense, it's kind of always been that way, but like there's not like number changes now where there's a defensive number and offensive numbers. Like anyone can have the number.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like that's
wait. So you can't have double numbers anymore?
No, sorry, Z, go ahead.
Yeah, you can. Like there's always been 2 number 12s on the team, like quarterback and then some random safety. I think that's what.
But it has to be on the other side of the ball, right?
Yeah, they obviously can't play at the same time. It's really the one. Yeah.
Big thing. But that's why I was like with Cameron Valdez, like 00. That's like a weird number for a running back.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Is he actually 00, or is that just for the sake of the graphic?
No, I think he's numbered. I think he's 00. Like Braylon Lux, it says 00.
I'm sure when they go out there, it's not going to be 0-1. I bet he'll just be 0.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. You're right. It's probably not. It's probably just 0. But still, that's weird.
It's probably for the sake of the graphic. Yeah, because Cameron Valdez wore 0 last year.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I guess I just saw the 00 and was like, that'd be really weird. But
maybe it will.
Not.
We'll just forget I said that. So no worries. Okay. Well, we want to move into something that's I want to call this what has to go right and what has to go wrong. And pretty much what I think we should do is each give an answer on like what has to go right for this season to be a success in your mind. It could be a position group. It could be an away game record. It could be the kicker, making field. It doesn't matter. And then what what would need to go or has to go wrong for the season to be a failure? And then to double down on that, what happens if the season goes wrong? So is it a coach firing? Is it position changes? Is it mass transfer portal? Is it NIL money? Is anything that could go, if it goes wrong, what do you do? What has to happen? So we'll start positive and negative, because then we'll move into something else that might be a little more happy. We'll see. So let's go Clayton first. So Clayton, in your mind, what has to go right for the season to be a success?
I mean, I'm kind of taking the low-hanging fruit here, but I'll say that we need to keep a QB healthy for the majority of the season, if not the entire season. I don't think you can't just expect to sustain success playing a backup QB in college.
Okay. I will double down on that one, but I'll also say this: we can't give the same answer, so we can't all just say, "Hey, Baron Morton." Like, obviously, that's Clayton picked the easiest answer, but albeit very important. So, Conrad, you can't pick quarterback. What has to go right for the season to be successful?
You have to have an average offensive line. You cannot. You have to have. You have to have consistency there, and they have to be average in terms of run blocking and average in terms of pass blocking. You don't have to have a great offensive line. Most people don't, outside of several programs. But you just have to have an average to above average offensive line if you want to do what you want to do, which is obviously play on Saturday in December in Arlington, Texas, for the Big 12 championship. So that'd be the biggest thing for other than quarterback, and those two kind of go together.
Do what you want to do, man. Play in Arlington. I like it. Z, what about you?
I don't want to play there. I want to win.
You want to win? Yeah. Well,
I'll take being in the game first.
Let's just be in the conversation in November. How about we
do
that?
When we're all sitting in section, I forgot what section we are in for the Colorado game, but whatever section we're in, I just want that game to matter. If we're like 4-4 going to that game, I will be so pissed, dude. I might not even go. I'll sell my ticket. Z, what about you? You can't pick O-line, you can't pick quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are really good answers. I think those would have to be 1A and 1B in my mind. But can you replace some of the veteran production you had on the defensive side of the ball, mainly Jalen Hutchings and Rabbit? Can you find somebody? You're going to ask Chapman Lewis, so that'll be a second-year player, to fill that role of a guy taken in the 4th round? And then can you find some way to be disruptive on the interior of the defensive line to, get some occasional pass pressures off of that nose tackle and defensive tackle spot, and then also blow up run fits? Can you, kind of be good? Jalen was really, really good last year. He was very disruptive. Can Quincy do that? Maybe it's DeBraylee Carroll, maybe it's Cofield. Can somebody kind of elevate themselves into that alpha on the defensive line? Those would be the things that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. And good. Thank you for not picking receiver, because I'm going to go receiver. To me, this was the most disappointing position off last year's team. I think it was pretty clear that what we thought was going to be a veteran core that had some potential skill and breakout, like Jaron Bradley, that they just did not produce. Outside of quarterback health, they did not showcase any ability to be a top receiving core in the conference, at least middle tier receiving core in the conference. And like Clayton had just mentioned earlier, you have, when we're looking at that receiving depth chart, you just see the potential on there with the names, the returning core, the excitement of a Kelly and a Douglas, and obviously one of your most talented recruits ever to come through those doors, and Micah Hudson. And if those guys don't improve and don't give Barron the opportunity to become a better quarterback and just have some yak, man, like just get a couple yards after you catch the football, I would be extremely disappointed if that group is not successful. And I think they need to be explosive for us to make noise. We can't rely on Taj the way we did last year. It's not feasible. And you have to have some ability to move the ball down the field in the passing game. And I think seeing that core, if that group I'll say if they're not a top 7 group in the conference, I'd be pretty disappointed. Like, I expect them to be upper half based off who we have, and that includes tight ends. That includes Tharp and Conyers. So that's the group that I'm most looking at this offseason. I was looking at this offseason going into the season, saying we've heard the names, we've heard the camp. Like, let's see it in action. So
I like those. Brennan, start us off with if the season goes poorly, what do you think happens? I guess what has to happen if the season goes poorly?
I think the wonderful answers that all 4 of us gave, if none of those go well, this season went poorly. I think I'm going to go to Clayton's answer because receivers are important, but I think what has to go wrong is that Will Hammond is starting games, Cam Brown is starting games.
Sure.
Like, if Barron goes out early, you just can't expect inexperienced quarterbacks to win you Big 12 games, especially on the road. Like, if we have to go into Arizona or TCU or Iowa State or Oklahoma State without Barron, then the season's just not going to go well. And there's nothing we can do about that. So that would be my answer there, is that you can mitigate the risk at other positions and you can kind of do a collective unit. I guess, like, if the offensive line is average, but they can help each other out. If one receiver is not great, you have some other options, but quarterback is singular. And that's where I think the season goes wrong if Barron doesn't stay healthy.
Yeah. My thoughts on Joey as a coach, I think he's really elevated the floor of this program. I don't think the floor falls out and you have a 4-8 season or you have a 5-7 season. I think if things go poorly, it's going to be we go 1-5 in 1-score games where you lose a game by 3, you lose a game by 6, lose a game by 7, lose a game by 2. Something like that, where games where one ball bounces differently, you win the game. That's where I see maybe somehow a 6-6 season pops up, or a really disappointing feeling 7-5 season. If you just have a lot of really unfortunate bounces in some 1-score games, that's kind of where I see, oh man, that was disappointing. That could have been a lot better than it was. That's kind of my answer.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I think I'd go just overall health of the team. I mean, just going into last year, like the last game in Austin, we had 51 healthy players. I mean, I don't care who you're playing. That's just not a good sign. So overall health for a team, obviously starting with quarterback, but like we mentioned earlier, having our safety stay healthy, having CJ stay healthy. I mean, we just have to stay healthy at those positions, because I think while the depth everywhere has improved because our recruiting has improved since Joey's gotten here, we're still not there yet where we can lose a starter, and really feel fantastic about who you have behind him at every spot. You're probably never going to be there, but especially now for us, just especially with those safeties, and even on the linebacking side of things. I mean, it's going to be difficult if we lose some of those starters. So just health top to bottom would probably be my, if the season, if you don't stay healthy at quarterback, running back, receiver, every position, it's just not going to go well for you this year.
Yeah, definitely. I'll also say if we still struggle with turnovers the way we did last year, it's probably going to go pretty bad, because our turnover differential last year was abysmal. And just off the top of my head, like the Oregon, BYU, K-State, if you just don't turn the ball over, you probably win all 3 of those games. And then that's a 9-win season. So.
Gosh, yeah, it is wild to think about last year just quickly. Like, you should have beat Oregon. You could have made the argument you should have beat Wyoming. If Barron stays healthy in K-State, you could have won. Arguably, have Barron healthy against BYU, you could have won. Or Shuck.
I think you curb stomp BYU.
Yeah, curb stomp.
I agree.
So that's 4 wins, and I know this sounds crazy, but that's 10-2. Now, you're obviously not, things could go wrong and not win all those games, but there is a theoretical path where, like, you could have been 10-2 if. It was, and it was just health. A lot of it was health. So I think that's why this year there's like the Kool-Aid level, if you want to call it, is like no one wants to drink it completely, because we all did last year and then we went 6-6. But I feel like it's subtly like rising. Like you're like, okay, you talk like that. I know Conrad, like he sent me He's drinking it. Like Conrad's drowning in the Tech Kool-Aid.
Well, I'm making it.
Yeah, Conrad's making it.
He's a dealer. He's a Kool-Aid
He's a
dealer.
So
No,
I
mean,
you
let me say this.
okay, go
Brennan,
ahead.
go ahead,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, show us.
Well,
Tell us how you make the
look-
Kool-Aid.
Guys,
Come on,
I mean,
Kool-Aid,
this
man.
is the best time of the year right now.
Yeah.
Because we haven't played a single game yet. We're so close.
Mhm.
But we can and we're about to do this, we can paint the picture of whatever we want it to be in our minds. If last year we were like, oh man, we're gonna be really good. We came off beating Texas and OU together. I mean, in the same year, and Joey's the first coach I think ever to do that. And we did that at home. They're both improbable, but going into last year, it felt really good. And now this year, the talent level is exponentially better than what it was last year. So it's hard now at this point in the season, being that it hasn't even started, or it has for some, Florida State and Georgia Tech. But the fact that it's here and we feel so good about this team, if these things happen, it's just hard really not to be optimistic about what you can do, especially with your schedule and the new Big 12 and everything that's kind of piled into the Kool-Aid pot that I'm making and you're drinking. So
well, we'll find out. We'll find out in 10 minutes if we're drinking it. I'm sure there's some fans listening to this that are chugging the Kool-Aid, just like Clayton's DP shootouts at Chimmy's.
Like
yeah.
me.
It's funny. Before we go, actually, let's answer the quick question, then I'll tell this story. What happens if the season goes wrong? So if everything goes wrong, what happens? Someone fired?
I'll go first. I mean, I don't see Tim DeRuyter getting fired because of how young the defense is and how good we've been. I could see Zach Kelly's seat at least getting hot if the offense struggles and Barron's healthy. But I mean, obviously, McGuire's not, his seat is not hot, and DeRuyter I don't think is either.
So nothing.
I mean, Kitley, it depends.
If the offense is just anemic, like you're 12th in the conference or 11th in the conference, something where it's like really, really poor. But I think if you're 6th in the conference in offense and 8th in the conference in defense, just gonna have a poor season. I don't think anybody's getting fired.
I think you could see at the spot we're most worried about the offensive line. If that group is just not good this year, not a whole not very many things are going to go well for you on offense and probably just as a whole. But if you don't play well there and that contributes to your overall record, I think you're going to see a large influx of transfers coming into that room. And also, I think you're going to see a lot of people leave that room because, if you don't play well there, it's almost time to turn the table and just say, hey, we're going in a completely different direction than what we were doing. I wouldn't say being that you fired Clay McGuire, just being his first year, but in terms of your personnel, I think you overhaul that completely if you don't play well there this year.
Yeah. It'd be hard, that like Zyler, you just said that Joey's elevated the floor, and I think we'd all be extremely disappointed, but I don't think anyone would say fire Joey McGuire. And that's a ridiculous thing to say. And I think that you're looking at Kitley, like we all want Kitley to succeed. His dad's the track coach. He's got Texas Tech ties. He was here when Pat was here as a GA. Like we all want Kitley to be good. And I do think that he would be the easiest scapegoat if the offense is not much improved. Like I don't even mean little, I mean much improved. And that's all things, again, considered health, but still very important. So, okay. So the story I was going to share before we go into what I'm most excited for this episode is Clayton and I have a long history together. We got a long relationship, and we've been roommates and brothers and for a long time. And each year before the season starts, Clayton and I do our best and worst case season prediction for Texas Tech's schedule. We've been doing this probably for 7 years now. And we'll get together, we'll pull up the schedule, we'll be sitting on the couch, and it'll be like, all right, that's a dub. That's a dub. That's a dub. Like every year. And last year we started 0-1 pretty quick on our prediction. But I think it's so funny because Clayton and I always joke, like, his positivity, like I remember the Texas game 2 years ago, he's like, dude, we're going to win this game. And I'm like, no, we're not. Like, we're not beating Texas. And sure enough, we win. So sometimes Clayton's positivity towards our program is right. And each year he gives me more hope than I have because his schedule prediction, includes a lot more wins than mine usually does. So with that, I'm going to say this is going to be the greatest segue of all time. We are doing Z's 60-second rundown. And what this is Zyler has crafted arguably the most efficient and amazing spreadsheet that one has ever laid their eyes on. And we won't show it on the screen because, I don't even know what some of the stuff on there means. But Zyler has created quite the breakdown of every single team in the conference. And with this, we want Zyler to run down 60 seconds of each game. So what you need to know about every game we are playing this year, that includes Abilene Christian, that includes North Texas, that includes games that we are 100% confident we will win, like Washington State and Pullman, Washington. And with that, once Zyler does that, we'll kind of give him a quick timer, and then we will give you our predictions on we'll call it our hopeful record. Okay, so we're not going to be pessimistic here. Like we've already said, we've got some Kool-Aid being chugged and created on this podcast, but Zyler is going to run through this. So Z, without further ado, man, I know I just gave you quite the intro on your spreadsheet skill set and your knowledge of all things Texas Tech schedule, but what can you give us in 60 seconds about Abilene Christian?
Yeah, I'm not going to linger too long on Abilene Christian. I'm going to punt some of this time to some of the other teams. Big storylines here. Maverick McIver, former Texas Tech quarterback, will be likely leading ACU into Jones AT&T Stadium. And then our former DC, Coach Patterson, is the head coach there. There's a couple other former Red Raiders. This shouldn't be a tough game for you. This is an FCS team. You should win this game 25-plus pretty easily. That's all that I really have to say about ACU at this point.
Okay, Clayton. That was, by the way, Zyler, that was like 20 seconds. That's phenomenal. Clayton, win or loss?
Win.
Conrad.
Easy.
It's a win.
Zyler.
By 20 loss.
Okay, I'm win. We're 1-0. Zyler, Washington State, Pullman, Washington. What do we need to know?
Yeah, this is a team that lost a ton of talent. They lost Josh Kelly, one of their best receivers. They lost their top two receivers, and then their fourth leading receiver from last year is also going to be hurt for our game. So they'll have one of their top four receivers coming back. They named a two-star kid their starting quarterback ahead of the Bryant FCS transfer that came in. So interesting. Nothing really on this guy. We'll kind of see what happens. They lost a ton on defense. They're going to be motivated to play this game. Mike Leach is going to be inducted into their Hall of Fame at halftime. Lots of storylines there. This is a game that you should win. It's a team you're more talented than, but they're going to have a lot of motivation after being left out of this most recent round of realignment. A game you definitely can't overlook, and I don't think we will overlook going back up to the Pacific Northwest.
I love it. 57 seconds. Clayton, win or loss?
I'll go win. I think, like Zyler said, they're going to be motivated, but I also think us losing at Wyoming last year helps us stay focused and push this over the top.
Yep.
Conrad?
I'll go win as well. I think a lot's been made about it's tough place to play in Pullman, Washington. Again, it's Pullman, Washington, not Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I'm not trying to disrespect them. I just don't think it's going to be that difficult of a game for you, especially with how focused you're going to be after what happened last year. I think you probably win by double digits, just based on talent discrepancy and that being week 2 and hopefully you being healthy all across the board.
Yeah, this game makes me nervous because of the Washington State fan base just being emotional. Pullman, I know it's not Tuscaloosa, but it's still a hard place to play with being left out, with Mike Leach, with what happened at Wyoming last year. There's a lot going against you this game, second game of the year, but I still think we find a way to pull this out. I'm going to say win, and we're 2-0, and we kind of get the road monkey off our back early.
Yep.
So Zyler, North Texas at home, 11 a.m.
Yeah, I'm going to punt some of my time here too. Chandler Morris is the starting quarterback here. He's actually good. He'll be one of the better quarterbacks you face this year, probably a top 6 or 7 QB on the schedule. You can't overlook this team. They're going to be much better. On paper, they're about as good as Washington State, and that's pretty good for a group of 5 team. Eric Morris, the former prolific slot receiver for Texas Tech, will be leading them into Lubbock. as the head coach. So that'll be kind of fun to see him back on the sidelines. Not a game you need to overlook, but this is a team you should beat by 20. You just got to come out and play your game. Got to make sure you don't overlook Chandler and let him light you up for 300 yards or something like that.
I like it. Are we going wins across the board here?
Wins.
What a start, 3-0. Okay, then we get a home game against Arizona State, TBD on the game time. You can buy now for $60 plus on tickets, and it's also our Raider Power game and Energy Alliance. So, based off that alone, Z, this should be. I'm pretty sure you don't even need to talk about the game. That's going to be a win. But
yeah, I actually think these are the Big 12 teams are the ones I did research on. They're going to lose two big weapons. Elijah Badger, Jalen Conyers are gone. Elijah's actually really, really good. They lose Jaden Rashada, use a QB for them, the 4-star kind of future quarterback. Then they also lose Aaron Frost and Joey Ramos, two guys off of the line that are good. Sam Levitt's going to be the quarterback, the Michigan State 4-star transfer, total unknown. He could end up being great. He could end up being terrible. Tends to kind of overthrow his balls a little bit, kind of floats things. You should be able to get some interceptions here. This is not an offense that I'm super scared of, except for the White Knight Cam Scatabo. He's actually a really good running back, somebody that's going to contend for all Big 12 teams. Real quickly on the defense, also lost a ton there. BJ Green goes to Colorado, one of the best edge rushers in the Pac-12, and then Deshaun Mallory, Pac-12 honorable mention player. Jordan Clark was another big loss. They bring in a ton of new guys. Prince Dorba, Elijah O'Neal, Clayton Smith, Jamon Tapp. It'll be our first big test for our tackles off the edge. Going to have to play good. Should be able to run up the middle, but those edge guys are going to have to watch out for.
Okay, I'm a little more nervous after Zyler said all that. I'm going to go win, Conrad.
I'm going to go win as well. Double digits.
You'll be at this game, too.
I will be at this game, so we're going to win maybe by triple digits because of that.
And there's the Kool-Aid starting to seep out of Conrad. Clayton?
Yeah, I'm going to go win, although I did see on Twitter, I can't remember if it was on 3 or 247, that they have like the second most talented roster in the Big 12 based off of high school rating, which I was really surprised about considering they're pretty much unanimously picked like 13, 14, 15, 16 in the conference.
So I actually have beef with that. The 24/7 team talent composite was really good before the transfer portal existed. You get credit for your high school rating regardless. So like Baylor Cup for us last year was a 5-star on the roster in our talent composite. He was good. He was in a 5-star. Clayton Smith and who's the other guy? Jamon Tapp. They have a ton of guys that are like transfer downs who clearly didn't work at their last spot that were like either low 5 stars, high 4 stars that are clearly not that. There were misevaluations, but there is potential. It's just been like pretty bad so far. That's the case though, is that you're hoping the coaching's better, but I don't think they're the second most talented team in the Big 12. Even though they do have, if you were looking at the high school ratings, it would be a really good roster on paper.
Okay, so still win. We're going to go
still win. Yeah. Okay. You should be favored by 10 plus.
Okay. 4-0 moving to Cincinnati. And this is family weekend. I'll be at this game as well. So what do you got, Z?
Yep. Brendan Sorsby's the new quarterback, came over from Indiana after the coaching change. The biggest thing about Cincinnati and the thing that I'd be worried about, they bring back their entire offensive line. It starts with right guard Luke Kendra. He was one of the best in the conference last year. I think he's on the first team for the preseason poll. They want to run the ball. Corey Kiner is going to be a really good running back for them. They've also got a kid named Evan Pryor. If you can stop the run, you're going to win the game. They've been decimated by injuries. Micah Coleman, Jalen Hunt, already out for the year. That was starting edge and backup edge. Dante Corleone's got health issues, and he's one of the best D tackles in the country. I hope he gets better, but I hope he doesn't play in the second game. They retooled their entire secondary. Basically, nobody came back. 6 new 2 deep players in the back there. A lot of new faces. They lost some good pieces. You should be able to pass on this team pretty easily.
Yeah.
Win. I think it'll be a little bit closer than Arizona State, but I still think we'll win at home.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with Conrad. I'll go win, but I do think Cincinnati might be a little better than people are expecting.
Yep.
Okay, so we're looking at this. We're 5-0 as the Broadway Shuffle, a Texas Tech Sports podcast going into this. This is where people start going, uh-oh, is this season going to be something special, or are we about to see a 2013 play out before our eyes? So this, and your schedule for a lot of people might start here, Z, at Arizona. So are you buying the Arizona hype going into this year, or should we feel a little more confident going into this game?
I buy them as a good team. I don't buy them as a great team. Fafita's good. McMillan will be, in my mind, he's much better than Luther Burden. He'll be the best receiver you see all year, bar none. And then Jonas Savanea, he's going to be their starting right tackle, going to be an NFL draft pick this year. After that, the offensive talent falls off a ton outside of the running back position. They'll be breaking in quite a few new linemen. Raymond Polito gone for the year. He was the projected starting left tackle. We'll have Wendell Moe at left guard. I don't like the receiver room outside of McMillan. The running back room actually is sick. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's really good. Quality Conley's good. They have some talent there. The defensive line got completely shredded. They bring back one guy from the two deep last year. We do have Jacob Manu. He's a really good linebacker. And then Justin Blow, the 5-star from Oregon. Their safety room's probably the best unit on the defense. Dalton Johnson, Darren Maldonado, Traden Stukes, all going to contend for all Big 12 honors. You've got to destroy them on the defensive line. That's where their weakness is going to be defensively. Got to find a way to exploit that.
I'm going win.
Okay. I did not expect that. I'll say this. I guess Brennan bought some Kool-Aid that I haven't even made yet for that game. This game, I mean, it's tough. It's at Arizona. It's in October, so it will be dreadfully hot. But I almost feel like you're gonna lose at some point. And if I had to pick a team that you're more likely to lose to, I'd probably pick Arizona. But now after Brennan said that, I'm kind of in a mood to pick a win because, if you start 5-0, I'm assuming Barron's healthy. And I'm assuming Micah is what you think Micah is going to be. I'm assuming Josh is just catching balls over everybody. And that my boy Quincy is just wrecking offensive lines. So you know what? I'll go with a win right here. I'll say we go 6-0. We go into Arizona and beat that team. So I'll go win.
Wow. I'm really surprised. I was honestly expecting both of y'all to say loss, and then I was going to say win to be the optimist. But now I can't say win, or else we're going to be extreme homers.
No. I go win, so we can be the one podcast and group of guys that actually say we're going to go 6-0 and say we're right. Because this is gonna be a podcast record too. We're gonna keep tabs of all of us, So let's go win here. Come on, just trust. We'll get some losses on the schedule, but let's go win here.
I will say, okay, I'll go with the win. I do think, kind of like Zyler mentioned, I do think we have the better roster overall, but they do have the better QB and best skill position player on the field, which worries me. But we should be able to score some points, and I don't think Arizona is a super intimidating place to play. So I'll go win.
I love it. Z, give us a quick. Just say just jump on the train with us real quick.
Man, I gotta be true to what the numbers say. The numbers don't say we're gonna be 6-0. I think we'll be 5-1 at this point.
Okay, I'll say this before we move to Baylor real quick. Z's welcome to say that if you're not 4-1 at minimum going into the Arizona game, you've got big problems. And so in the same way that we said you have all this health, assuming all these people are healthy, if we're not 4-1 at worst going into that game, then something has already gone wrong for the season. Big time, in my opinion. Okay, Baylor, Z, give us a quick rundown. We're 6-0 as the Broadway Shuffle. You got outvoted 3-1 against Arizona. What do we need to know about Baylor?
Man, they pay players. That's their new thing, which is so funny. Daquan Finn is going to be the storyline. He's the starting quarterback from Toledo. He can run and he can kind of pass. He's going to be fast. He's the perfect antidote for kind of a bad offense as a running quarterback. He hides a lot of weaknesses. They lost Kurt Daniker, starting left guard for the season. He's already out. They're going to have a lot of new guys. Campbell Barrington's probably going to be the only returner. I guess Alvin Basile would be the other starter on the tackle side. Keatron Jackson, Monterey Baldwin, Hal Presley. They've got some decent talent at the skill positions. Dominic Richardson and what's the other kid's name? Richard Reese. They'll be doing their offense will be fine. Defense will be okay. They lost Gabe Hall and CJ Franklin. They'll bring in Steve Linton, former Red Raider, and they've got some new linebackers. Caden Jenkins is the other kid that is really good. Carl Williams, they'll both be in their sophomore season. So if they take big jumps, they could be really good. It's not a team I'm super scared of, but I think it'll be the second best roster on paper that you'll play up to this point. A game that, you're not going to be favored by 10 or 7. I think it'll be a 3 to 6 point spread, maybe. So going to be a close game. Who can kind of pull out more plays when you got to have them.
Conrad, we all know your love for the Baylor Bears.
I'll never pick Baylor to win anything. So I'm gonna go win. I do think it'll be. I'm gonna give respect to Baylor. I mean, I don't think they'll be as bad as they were last year, being 3-9. But the last time you did play them at Jones AT&T Stadium, I'm not even gonna say the score because I can't bring myself to do it. You did lose that game. I just don't think you lose this game at this point in the season, especially if you're coming home and assuming that our predictions are right, which we know they will be. We'd be 6-0 going into this game. I just think at that point, if you've got a 6-0 record, you've got a pretty good football team. And so playing Baylor at home, I don't think they'll be able to compete with you, especially if the hype is what it is. And I think if that's a night game, I think Jones AT&T Stadium will be a rocket. So I think you win that game, and I'll just never pick Baylor to win anything. So that gives me great joy to do that.
Love it. Clayto?
Yeah, I'll go win. I can't, in good faith, take Baylor to beat us in our own stadium on a tech podcast.
Yeah, you just wouldn't be a good Baptist if you picked Baylor in good faith, I'm going Baylor. I'm sorry. I'm not going Baylor. I am going Tech 100% here. And I was a Red Raider Club student assistant back in the heyday. Did a lot of great work there. It's Red Raider Club donor appreciation, so we're not losing on Red Raider Club, and it's also homecoming. So just not going to happen. We're 7-0. Z, tell me you're riding with us on this one.
Yeah, I think you beat Baylor. I hope you're 6-1 at this point. I mean, I'd take that right now. If you offered it to me, I would take 6-1 in a heartbeat. I think you got an outside shot to be 7-0, but I feel much better about this game than I do Arizona.
All right, let's go quickly through TCU and Iowa State back-to-back road games. You got 60 seconds for TCU. What do we need to know?
Yep. I'll be real quick here. They're going to bring in an entirely new offensive line. It's like almost a worse situation than ours is. Already lost Cade Bennett, probably their second best transfer to the year with an injury. Josh Hoover, kind of depends on what you think of him. I think he's actually okay, but we'll kind of see. Savion Williams returns. They bring in Eric McAllister from Boise State. They still have J.P. Richardson. Offense will be pretty good if that O-line holds up. It just depends on whether that happens. Defense should be better. They lose Dominic Williams, who is the big player for them on the interior. He goes to OU, but they bring in Davian Deal on the edge, Nana Osafo-Mensah from Notre Dame. They bring in some guys on defense. They should be more talented. They did already lose Avery Helm for the season with an injury, so it's going to be a lot of new cornerbacks, but it's going to be a tough one in Fort Worth.
I'm going our first loss here at TCU in Fort Worth. Clayton?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, honestly, if I had picked Arizona to beat us, I would pick this as a win, but I don't see us starting 8-0. And I do think this is a tough game, so
yep.
I do think we lose.
Conrad?
Yeah, this is the game where the first Heisman moment for Barry Morton happens. This is an overtime win in Fort Worth. I will be at this game wearing red and screaming loud. Maybe no. I think I'm going to be the optimist and say you win this game, just because again, like Baylor, I won't pick TCU. So, but I do think you have a legitimate shot to beat TCU, even though it's in Fort Worth. I mean, the stadium will be half red, so you should have a good home field advantage, maybe feel there. So I'm gonna go win at TCU.
Z?
Yeah, I actually feel better about this than I do Arizona. If you flip the spots, I wish you played Arizona the back half of the year. I think that depth may catch up to them. I think I'm going to pick this as a win.
Oof, 2-2. We got to flip a coin. For the sake of the podcast, because we're not going to start 8-0, because we're not going to do that. We're going to go either way, right? Either TCU or Arizona. We're saying that we're 7-1 going into Iowa State. So either way, right now we're 7-1, depending on how we've just flipped who we see losing and winning to the Arizona or TCU game. So for us, we're 7-1 going into Iowa State. Z, this game I think is probably the toughest road game on your schedule, but what is it that we need to know about Iowa State heading into this week?
Yeah, this is where I had the biggest disagreement with like the actual good advanced analytic prognosticators. They don't have Iowa State as rated as highly as I do. They bring back a ton of people, but their offensive line was kind of terrible last year. But they bring everybody back. Rocco Beck comes back. Basically, the entire offense and anybody of note is coming back. Only guy that you're not seeing is Aiden Bitter, and he wasn't really that good. The defense brings essentially everybody back outside of the draft pick, TJ Tampa, and then Gary Vaughn, their really good middle linebacker. Everyone else is coming back. If you played them last year, this is essentially the same team. They're going to be good. I don't foresee us winning an Ames. I think it's going to be a really tough game.
Okay, so Z's going loss. Conrad,
I'll go loss here.
Clayton.
It's a tough place to play. It's in November. It could be cold.
Yeah, I agree. I do think this loss. This does seem like the toughest game on our schedule to me. Playing in Ames this late in the year is tough, and Iowa State is good, so I'll go loss.
Yeah, this is where I see us start to kind of struggle a little bit. I'm going loss as well. So we're 7-2, which is still very good. We've never been 7-2 since 2000. We have, but we haven't been that good since 2013 in terms of record through 9 games. So going into Colorado, we will all be at this game. Z, America knows Colorado pretty well, but outside of Shador, outside of Travis Hunter, and outside of Dion and his cowboy hat, what do we need to know?
Yeah, I think the big pieces you got to be aware of. I think this line is way better than it was last year. Khalil Benson on the right side, the right tackle, I actually think he's terrible, but Justin Mayers at right guard, Tyler Johnson at left guard, and then Jordan Seats, a 5-star freshman. He looked awful in the spring game, but he is still 17 or 18. The interior is going to be better. They should be able to run the ball. On defense, they brought in some studs. They brought in Deion Hayes from Pitt, Samuel Okunlala from Pitt, BJ Green from Arizona State, Chidozie Nwako from Houston. They actually have some guys. Preston Hodge was a kid that Tech really wanted out on the cornerback side, and he's really freaking good. A kid from Liberty, but originally from the Dallas area. It's a brand new roster. I think they're better than people think they're going to be. I just don't trust or Coach Prime or whatever you want to call him, Dion, to kind of manage this team this far in the year. This is a team that I'm happy we're playing at the end as opposed to the beginning. I think they will start hot and kind of do what they did last year.
Zyler's a win, Conrad?
Yeah. Zyler, did you have something else to add?
No, I think this is either a game where it's like you absolutely blow the brakes off of them, or they're going to be just way better than you thought they were. I just have no idea what this game's going to be. I think you either kill them or they're super talented and blow you out.
Yeah, I think they'll fade towards the end of the year. They do have talent, but I just don't know that this is really going to be where they're at their best at the end of the year. I think you win by double digits in Lubbock. I hope it's a Saturday night game. I think it'll be very highly anticipated, but I think you win.
Clay?
Yeah, I agree with most of what y'all are saying. I am glad we're playing at the end of the year. They have an absolutely brutal schedule, probably the toughest in the Big 12.
Yep.
I do think it's a shootout, though, and we win by a touchdown or like 10 points.
Yeah, they have a lot of hype. There's a lot of excitement around them, but ultimately, I think we peak at home in November under Joey, and that trend continues here, and we win. So with that, we are 8-2 as the Broadway Shuffle experts here on this rundown. And Zyler, we have 2 games left. This is where we're starting to talk potential Big 12 championship game here if we go into Stillwater and beat them. What do you like about our chances there, and what do we need to know about Oklahoma State?
Yeah, super similar to Iowa State. They bring back a ton of returning production. If you're familiar with Bill Conley's returning production metric, one of the top teams in the nation. Bring back the entire offensive line, basically everybody important on the skill positions outside of maybe Leon Johnson, Jaden Bray. Everybody else is coming back. They didn't really add a ton in the portal because they didn't have to. Ollie Gordon will be there. Trent Allen will be the backup. It's Alan Bowman at quarterback. Defensively, Colin Oliver is going to be a stud. Nick Martin is going to be really good. Anthony Goodlow and Nathan Latu depart. They're going to have to figure out a way to get pressure off the edge. I don't really like any of the other guys they have there. If they do set Colin Oliver as an edge rusher, I think he can be really good there. He's small, but he's really quick. It's going to be a really good team. I don't like Gundy with expectations. I like him when he has like a 6-win projection. That's when I like to bet on Gundy. So we'll see what happens with this team, but they've got all the pieces to be really good.
Okay, so November road game, week before. How many of us think we're going to win this game? Raise your hand. All right, that's if you're not what. Oh, there goes Conrad.
Hey,
I was gonna say if you're not watching on YouTube, Conrad just raised his hand last second. So Conrad, go ahead super quickly. We're going 9-2 because of what?
because Alan Bowman is not going to beat you. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. I mean, he played his best football 7-10 years ago under Cliff Kingsbury, and the last time Barry Morton played in this stadium, he threw the ball 62 times, had 379 yards, and that was the first time we saw Barry, and we're like, yeah, that guy's going to be what we think we can. I just think you win this game. It's an overly optimistic pick for sure. But I just don't know that I can really, in good conscience, pick Alan Bowman to beat Texas Tech because I just don't think it's going to happen. So,
Fair. Clayton?
Yeah, I will. I am leaning loss, but I could easily be talked into taking this as a win. I think Oklahoma State is being slightly overvalued. I think we have the better QB, the better skill position players. And I think they escaped with the win against BYU last year. They got blown out by UCF. They lost to one of their non-conference. Like, I don't think they're as good as people are making out to be, but it isn't Stillwater. And I frankly don't know if we start 9-2, which is what that would be.
Yeah.
So I'll say loss.
I don't like the pessimistic here. I'm riding the Kool-Aid train. Bowman's not beating us. We're going 9-2. Give me 9-2. Z, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the loss here. I think there is a world. This was a very overrated team last year. Clayton's absolutely right. They were the most overrated team as far as wins over expectation per Bill Conley. Had like 1.7 wins over expectation, which is a crazy high number. So they are overrated in that sense. But I don't see you going in there and getting that win at this point.
All right. Well, we're 9-2. Conrad and I, the Kool-Aid's overpowering here. We'll see. Z, what last game of the year? We're either 8-3 or 9-2, depending on who you ask on this podcast. I'm pretty high on Neil Brown of West Virginia this year. What do you like about them? What do we need to know? And then, what is your final record prediction after this game?
Yeah, I think West Virginia is like being really slept on in the Big 12. They bring back a ton of really good players. They do lose Zach Frazier, second-round draft pick, who was really good. But they do bring back Wyatt Millum at left tackle, Thomas Remack at left guard, Brendan Yates at right guard. They lose their right tackle, but they have really good pieces here. This is a good team. This is Garrett Green, even though his 52% completion percentage is really, really bad. Their offense was basically like hand it to Donaldson, hand it to White, or Garrett Green, you run it. And if you don't run it, throw it deep. Maybe that doesn't work again. I don't know. I just really like this roster. I think they have a lot of really good pieces. They do lose a ton on defense. They're going to have to replace a lot. I think this is the game that people are overlooking and kind of just saying win. I think winning this game takes you from, maybe a good season, a 7-win season, to like, oh man, that was actually a really good season. Maybe even a great season, to an 8 and 9-win team.
Yep. So win or loss?
This one's like a true toss-up for me. I don't know. I think it'll be really close, maybe a 1.5-point spread either way right now on the analytics. I'll say we pull out a win. Joey's been pretty good at home.
All right, I'm going loss. I'm high on West Virginia this year. Conrad?
Yeah, it's a quarterback that does like more than 50% of his passes. You have to be able to throw the ball in this conference. You have to be able to throw it well. It's November 30th. It's at home. If we are even close to what our predictions are, I just think there's going to be too much hype around this game. And I think, as we know, our stadium is a really tough place to play. So I'm going to go in. And I'm not just saying that because I'm making the Kool-Aid. I truly do think if you have a legitimate team that's anywhere close to what we think it is, what it could be, November 30th in Lubbock, I think you're going to win given what we've done under Joey at home.
Clayton?
Late in the year.
That's the home game after Thanksgiving, though. And that's the one where it sucks to have that one at home. I'd rather play that on the road.
Yeah. Clayton?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this one is tough. This is definitely the toughest home game. I will go win. I'm still not a Neil Brown believer. Um, and under Joey, we've definitely shown that we get better as the year go on. So I think hopefully playing at home in November, I hope we pull out a dub.
Yeah, I'm going to go loss. I just feel like West Virginia showed a lot of growth last year. And this is a game, like Z said, that we're sleeping on. But if you do win this game, if Clayton and Conrad are correct and Zyler and I are wrong, you're looking at 10-2 record for the Texas Tech Red Raiders come out. And so for the sake of not looking like we know absolutely nothing and that we're not complete Kool-Aid homers, it's safe to say that our overall consensus record is probably 9-3, which is still phenomenal. So you're looking at a 9-3 prediction for us as a unit, and two of us are going 10-2. Z's leaning more 7-5, I think, deep down without any homer, but we'll
I'd love to say 8-4. I'd love to say 8-4.
But we'll leave it there. So man, Z, great job, by the way. Well done on the rundown. I'm completely shocked at how much ball you know, man. It just it cranks my chain hearing you talk ball. So and so, man, to close us out, Z, you not only do you know ball, you also know tech trivia. So give us, to end the episode, our tech trivia question of the day.
Yeah, the QB position has often been blamed for our season struggles, but we have not had a 1,000-yard wide receiver in quite a while. Does anybody know the season and the player who was the last Red Raider to have a 1,000-yard receiving season in the regular season for the Texas Tech Red Raiders?
My first thought's Jakeem Grant.
Okay, that's a good guess. Conrad?
Is it Eric Ezukama?
That's a good guess.
I don't think he can be.
Ooh, those are all great guesses. You are all incorrect. Does anybody have any other guesses?
Jonathan Giles?
It's not
What
Giles.
What about Alex Torres?
No, it's been more recent since Alex Torres.
Thank God. Thank
God
dude.
it's not 2012.
Oh, man.
Okay, I'll give you another hint. It was in 2018.
Oh, wow. Oh, wait, why am I blanking on his name? The guy who played on the opposite side of TJ Basher?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Trell?
No, he played for the Cardinals.
Yes.
Oh, Antoine Wesley.
Antoine Wesley.
It is
Yes,
Antoine
yeah,
Wesley.
Wow.
He had his season was actually insane. He had almost 1,500 yards.
Good
that
for
season.
him.
Very, very slept on performance.
Good for him. Well, there you go, man.
And you know who his quarterback was for most of that year?
Alan Bowman.
Exactly.
Wow.
When he was good.
When he was good. Back when he was in the 15th grade. Well,
my random thought, sorry, Brennan, before you close, Alan Bowman started his college career on the same field as A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf. They were on the same field as college athletes at Ole Miss game in Houston. So he's still in college.
and now DK Metcalf is on my dynasty fantasy football team, and I'll be rooting him on for the next 10 years. So
and he's been on your roster for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, he's literally on the decline of his value.
Not good. Shows my draft knowledge.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, just so our listeners are aware as we're closing out, we all four of us are in a dynasty league together, and you'll probably be hearing some of that on the podcast too. So just tune in for some fantasy talk potentially as well, or some fantasy raging most likely. But man, thank y'all. That was so much fun. We are less than a week away. We got one more episode coming out Thursday. We're going to kind of walk through more game time stuff there against Abilene Christian. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you get your podcasts, at the Broadway Shuffle, a Texas Tech sports podcast. And you can check us out every Monday and Thursday as well. So guys, only 5 sleeps until we get to watch Texas Tech play football. I cannot wait, and I will see you guys on Thursday.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad.
Sweet. See y'all. Reckon.